Hello everyone. So thank you for first of all, I want to thank you all for coming on Saturday and staying up so late. And so before starting, I want to know how many of you have used WhatsApp and Google Meet or any real-time notification. Got any real-time notification? I think I can see a lot of hands, and I think all of you must have used WhatsApp so far, right? And, and now I want to know how many of you have basically worked on them, like have built a real-time communication system or have built something like WhatsApp. Nice. So we will see how this works behind the scene, how WhatsApp, how a real-time trading application, live price sticker works behind the scene. So today we are going to learn about real-time communication and we will see how WebSockets help in real-time communication. So before starting, a little about me. I started my journey with Grow. I was worked there as a front-end developer, and I was POC for mutual fund team. And if you have ever seen any mutual fund page in Grow after login, then my work needs no introduction. You have already seen my work. After that, I joined Epify. There I worked on server-driven UIs, and currently I'm contributing in the growth of Wayfair. So that's it about me. So let's get started. So before learning any new technology, I feel we should always know why behind it. Like, why do we even need WebSockets? To know why do we need even WebSockets, let's take a step back and see how HTTP protocol works. So we know that if you have ever developed any website or integrated API, then you must have used HTTP protocols. And in case of HTTP protocols, what you do is you send a request to the server, then a TCP connection is formed. Then the server send you one response back to the client, right? And as soon as the client got back the response, this connection, this TCP connection is terminated, or we can say it is closed, right? So if you want to get a new data, if you want to get a new data from server, then in that case, you have to again call the API, right? You have to again set up this TCP connection, and you again have to send you just again have to follow this request and response cycle, right? So so let's understand it through a real world example. Suppose you want to build a chat application, real time chat application, and you like you are sending one message to the user. Okay, so suppose I'm sending one message to you. Okay, now if I want, you have reverted back to me. Now, if I want to see your revert, which you have sent me, again have to refresh the page because I again have to call the API. So this is not feasible, right? So basically, it will not be a real-time chat application. It will be email, right? So to have to form the real-time communication, what we can do is we can use polling. Okay. In case of polling, if we want to use HTTP, keep on using HTTP protocol, and we want to form a real-time communication, then in that case we can do polling. Polling is nothing more than like we are keep on calling the API after a certain interval of time. Okay, so we are again and again following this request and response cycle after a certain interval of time. So you can see here, like in case of polling, we are calling the API again and again. Like you can see, we have in a short interval of time, we have called the API numerous times. Now, Is it a good approach for real-time communication? No, right? Because this is a very inefficient way. Because suppose there are 1,000 users on our chat application, and those 1,000 users will call the API after each and every 10 seconds. So there will be a very high load on server. And due to that, the latency will be high. There will be a lot of scalability issue. Also, suppose like I am calling uh, suppose I'm calling the API again and again after the interval of 10 seconds, okay? And you send me the revert back in 7 seconds. Then I have to wait extra 3 seconds for just to get the response, right? So it is also hampering the user experience. So basically, there are a lot of cons of polling. So that's why we can't use polling for real HTTP protocol polling for real-time communication. So there are two good reasons. First of all, we need real-time communication. HTTP is not able to deliver that. That is why we need WebSockets. So there are a lot of problems, right? That if we want to do real-time communication with the help of WebSockets, with the help of polling. So all those problems can be solved using WebSockets. So WebSocket is nothing. It is an advanced technology that makes it possible to set up two-way, uh, basically two-way interactive uh, communication. It is also a communication protocol just like HTTP. So let's see how it's done behind the scene. So the one amazing thing here is, like, if we are using WebSocket, we don't have to poll again and again. We don't have to set up the connection again and again. We don't have to follow this response, basically request response cycle again and again. So let's see how this works behind the scene. So the interesting thing to note here is, whenever we form a WebSocket connection, the first request, the request which you can see here, the first request is an HTTP request, and just like a normal HTTP request, we are sending headers here. We are sending cookies here. Everything which you can imagine with a normal HTTP protocol request, we are sending all the data here. So the initial request in case of a WebSocket is also a HTTP request. Okay. Now, once the server is receiving this request, the server basically send a message to client saying that the setup is done, that the connection is established here. So this process is known as handshake. So once the handshake is complete between the client and the server, now you can send data from or many message from client to server or server to client at any point of time. So, which means that it is bidirectional in nature and also fully duplex, because now you don't have to set up the connection again and again and again, right? You have just set up the connection once, and now the data is there for you. You can just send the data. The connection is there for you. You can just send uh, basically message from client to server and server to client. So now the major difference between WebSocket and HTTP protocol request is, first of all, HTTP connections are unidirectional, which means either the client can send request to server, or the server can send response to client. But the WebSocket connections are bidirectional in nature, which means that at any point of time, client can send a message to server and server can send message to client. Second thing is, HTTP connections are half duplex. Once the connection is once this request and response cycle is done, the connection is lost, right? Or we can say that the TCP connection which we had formed, it is closed. But if we see the WebSocket connection, we just have to make the connection once, and this connection is basically is permanent. Okay, we don't have to do the setup again and again. So this WebSocket connection is constant once established. So now you will be like, Swati, that's too much information without a real world example, right? So let's see an example here, real world example. So let's see the implementation of WebSockets in real time chat application. Okay. So are you guys able to see my screen? Is it visible till the end? Okay. Okay. So whenever we want to basically start a WebSocket connection, we we create a WebSocket object. Okay. So for doing that, what we do is, as you can see on line number 31, we have this for WebSock is equal to new WebSocket, and inside this we are sending one URL. Okay. So here you can see that we have created one WebSocket constructor, and inside this we are passing one URL. Now, in this we can pass two parameters. First is uh, first first parameter is URL, and second is the protocol. If we, as we are not sending any second parameter here, so it will consider it as empty object, sorry, empty array only. And if I want to send it, then in that case, either send a string or an array of string. Now, the URL here is a required parameter, and the sub protocols which I'm talking about is a optional parameter. So if you want to use multiple protocols, then in that case we can send the second parameter. Okay. Now, suppose I want to send a request to the server. So you can see that I have used SOK, which I have this variable I have made earlier, right? So SOK dot send, and in this I am sending the JSON dot stringify data, my data. Now this will be received by my server, but now suppose the connection is not established till now. If I keep this piece of code before line number 33. Suppose if I keep it here, will it work? No, because right now, as we know that WebSocket connections are asynchronous in nature, and we don't know when it is done or when this connection is established or not. So for that only, we have to keep a check that once the connection is established, only and only then we send the message to the server. Otherwise, it is lost. And so to check if the server have made the connection or not, we use one event, on open event, to check if the connection is, if the handshake is done or not. Next is our on message event. Whenever we receive any message from the server, okay, then in that case we use this on message event. So these were three main things which we basically use in WebSockets. So let's see it through the UI, like what is happening in the UI, and then basically we will see the code entire code. Okay. Here you can see we have a normal basic chat application. Okay. As soon as I come on this page, it asks for my name. So let's add my name, which is Swati. And as soon as I click on OK, this UI appears. It's normal chat application. Like in WhatsApp, you have that upper panel, right, where you can see all the chats, and then you have an input text where you can basically add your chat messages, and then there is a button. Normal. Think of it as a normal chat application. Now, suppose suppose we have a different user. Okay, so for that, Okay, before doing that, I want to show you very interesting thing. Okay, so as soon as I reloaded this page, in the WS section, WebSocket section of our network tab, I can see this localhost. Okay, now this is giving me 101 switching protocol. Thing is suggesting me that the handshake is complete here. On this tab, the handshake is complete. Now, suppose now we have another user on our chat application. This user, let's say it is React Dev. Now, as we are using WebSockets in this application behind the scene, the behavior in this should be that if I'm sending any message, if Swati is sending any message, it should be visible in React Dev portal. And if React Dev is sending any message, it should be visible in my screen, right? So let me write hi. Welcome to React Bangalore session, Bangalore meetup. So here you can see I can see my message that I have typed, hi, welcome to React Bangalore meetup. And here we can see that my name is here, that like I had done, this was my screen, right? Swati screen. So here Swati had typed, hi, welcome to React Bangalore meetup. And this is visible in React Dev uh, screen as well. So suppose if I React Dev, thanks. Uh, Thanks. Just React Dev is, so React Dev is saying thanks. Okay. So you can see that in the other tab, we can see that React Dev is saying thanks. So I like other, if I was not using WebSockets here, I had to refresh the page again and again to get the data. But as I am using WebSockets behind the scene, that is why I didn't have to refresh the page, and I was able to see everything on the screen without refreshing it. So this is the power of WebSockets. So if you want to basically use real-time communication, you have to use WebSockets. So let's see in the code base what we are doing. It is a very small code base on client side. We don't have to do a lot. Like first, I have written prompt, what is your name fella, which we had seen earlier, the alert box in which I added my name. Second is, as I mentioned earlier, that here I am adding WebSocket object, and through this we are forming one connection. We are doing a handshake between the client and server. Then we are checking if basically our connection is established. Then in that case, send the message to the server, that socket.send. We are sending the message to server, that our type name and the data. After that, I have added one div here, and in that div, this is the div which I'm talking about. In this div, I basically use document.getElement by ID. I think each and every React developer know about this, so this needs no introduction. So once this is gotten, now if I'm getting any message from the server, then in that case we just have to like in this case, like I'm just adding the json.name. Like in this case, React developer was sending me something, right? So this was the message coming from the server. So json.name, which means react.dev here, and json.data, which was this data. Thanks. Okay. Now, similarly, if I am sending any message like you, hi, welcome to React Bangalore. In this case, we are just on the click of button, we are just sending one message to the server, and in the inner HTML, we are saying you, like here, hi, welcome to Bangalore Beta. So this is a very small example of how real-time communication works. There are a lot of other places where we can use WebSockets, like online gaming, live streaming, collaborative editing, real-time notification, remote control and monitoring. So there are a lot of places where we use WebSockets. So I hope you guys will make a project and implement WebSockets in that. So that's it about the session. Any questions, guys?